What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Awesemo channel, talking some Week 5 USFL DFS, talking the best plays at each position. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. Today's video is also brought to you by PrizePicks. And if you've never heard of PrizePicks, you are using player props to build lineups up to 5 players where you can win up to 10 extra entry fee. And we have some deals for you right now. If you use the promo code Awesemo, you can get a match deposit bonus up to $100. And if you use the link in the description to this video to do so, you can get yourself 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. So make sure to check out PrizePicks. They have a lot of really cool stuff going on right now. Diving into this, we're going to talk quarterbacks and wide receivers in conjunction with each other, talk about some of the best stacks at the position before we dive into running backs. Of course, tight ends, they are used in flex positions with receivers, so they will be in that discussion. Starting things out at the quarterback position, we have to begin the discussion with Philadelphia Stars quarterback Case Kookus. He has taken over for Brian Scott since Brian Scott left the team due to injury. This team is the pass heaviest team in all of the USFL. And that is really important because you are getting such a good floor with this team through the air, particularly with Kookus under center. He also has a little bit of mobility. Last week, we saw him rush 4 times for 35 yards, which is going to give you a solid floor in this league, which has limited play volume compared to the NFL. When we look at the top targets for Kookus, they're typically running 4 wide. They use a tight end in Bug Howard, but think of him as like the Mike Gesicki of this league. He's always lining up in the slot or out wide. From there, it's Devin Gray and Jordan Sewell as the top 2 stacking options. With this team, you're going to find players at every single price point. Sewell is $7,800, Devin Gray is $7,500, and Bug Howard is a very cheap option at $4,100. All of them are on the field for essentially every single play for a team that is extremely pass heavy. So they're not very expensive, especially with the cheap quarterback. This is going to be one of the cheaper stacks you prioritize all week, and it can get you some of the best running back plays. So love the Stars as usual. The second stack I want to talk about is New Orleans, the Breakers. This is a team with another very high-powered offense. They're one of the fastest offenses in the entire USFL. And with Kyle Sloter under the helm, this team has really seen a spike in offensive efficiency. Last week, Sloter threw for 397 yards and 1 touchdown. He's not the most mobile, but that volume through the air on a high-powered offense is going to give you a massive ceiling, and we already have seen it multiple times this year. As far as stacking options go, they started to rotate receivers a little bit with the exception of Jonathan Adams, who might be the league's best receiver overall. Better yet, he's only $5,500. Last week, he had 9 targets, which was tied for the team lead with tight end Sal Cannella, another really cheap option at $5,300. They're both targetable in stacks here. You can also get a little more contrarian with a Poindexter, a Dixon, or a Taylor. All of them are live here. One last quarterback for those of you being contrarian, and probably not one you'll stack. This one's going to be kind of off the board. You can get to New Jersey's Deandre Johnson, who has the best rushing floor of any quarterback in this league. He's still splitting time with Luis Perez, but last week that snap share ticked up to 70%, and he's shown an edge in terms of yards per attempt through the air and on the ground over Luis Perez. I personally think it's only a matter of time before he gets all of the snaps, but the share with Luis Perez is what keeps him contrarian here. Only 8,700. For those of you playing the big tournaments, think he makes a lot of sense. At the running back position, this is a spot where we also want to go back to the Breakers, and positively they're a team that's favored this week, so opportunity should be there for them. Right now, the Breakers are currently 3-point favorites over the New Jersey Generals. But when we look and see what the team is doing, they're one of the few teams in the USFL using a bell cow back. Last week, Justin Ellis, 19 carries, 104 yards, and 7 targets in the pass game. 7 targets in the pass game is ridiculous. Previously, TJ Logan was the scat back, the pass catching back, but he got hurt. They bring up Larry Rose, and he's only receiving about 20% of the snaps. Just not a sizable workload and not enough to really ding Jordan Ellis here. They did bring in another back recently, but it hasn't affected Ellis either. He has the best role among any running back in this league. When we look to some contrarian options, one player I think we can get to is Mark Thompson, who was previously leading the league in yards per attempt till week 4, where he finished with 14 carries for 10 yards. People were likening him to Derrick Henry, but the most recent performance might get people off of him. This team, the Houston Gamblers, is playing the Pittsburgh Maulers, the worst team in the USFL. Now, Mark Thompson doesn't have a great receiving role, and last week's performance probably brings some people off of him. But this is a guy with a very solid workload in this league. Previously, he had 16 carries, 24 carries, and then it drops to 14 with the struggles last week. So I like buying low on him. Another potential option here is Birmingham Stallions back CJ Maribel. The team brought in Bo Scarborough this week, but he only has 2 or 3 days to get up to speed. He also replaces an injured Jordan Chun, so there's not the guarantee he receives carries anyway. CJ Maribel has slowly been receiving more and more work in this backfield. 16 carries in week 2, 16 carries in week 3, 17 carries in week 4, and he has 9 targets over the last 2 games, working well ahead of Tony Brooks-James. He'll be facing one of the worst run defenses, and this Birmingham Stallions team has the highest implied team total on the slate. Only last player to mention here at running back would be pass catcher Paul Terry for the Philadelphia Stars. He's a player that is splitting time with Matt Colburn, but he outcarried him 11-6 last week, out-touched him in terms of targets 5-1, and he now has 14 targets over the last 2 games. He's very cheap, so just a solid pass game floor for Paul Terry for those of you looking at contrarian options. Let me know in the comment section who you think the best plays are this week for USFL DFS. My name is Matt Gajewski on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again next time.